All right, let's talk about something I think we all feel. In a world that seems practically engineered to distract us, have you ever just stopped and wondered, how do I get my focus back? How do you actually feel motivated to do the things that truly matter? Well, in this explainer, we're going to dive deep into the science and the strategy of taking back control. So I want to kick things off with this quote from writer Dan Coe, and it might sound a little weird at first, right? Absolute freedom is chaos. I mean, hold on, aren't we all supposed to be chasing freedom? This little paradox is the central puzzle we are going to unpack today.
So let's just put the question right out there. What if this thing we're all chasing, this life with no rules, no constraints, what if that's actually the source of our misery? The very reason we can't focus? It's a tough pill to swallow, but it is absolutely key to understanding what's really happening inside our own heads.
And this brings us to what we can call the freedom trap. It's this bizarre paradox where the freedom we think we're getting just leads to a totally different kind of prison. It's one where our days are secretly dictated by the rules of an algorithm, the constant buzz of notifications, and, that endless, mindless scroll.
So why does this happen? Well, it gets down to how we're wired. The pioneer of flow states, Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, explained that our brains are basically pattern-making machines. They evolved to solve problems inside a specific framework. So when you throw infinite choice and zero rules at them, they don't find peace, they find chaos. And what do? They just default to the easiest, most stimulating path they can find.
So, how is this hijacking actually taking place? Well, here's the thing. It's not a failure of your willpower. It's a matter of brain chemistry. Modern life, with its non-stop fire hose of cheap pleasures, has figured out the perfect formula to manipulate our most fundamental motivational systems.
And the star of this whole show is dopamine. Now, there is a massive misconception about this stuff. The neuroscientist Andrew Huberman makes this super clear. Dopamine is not the molecule of pleasure. It's not about the joy of having something. It's the motivation, the drive, the craving to go get it. It's the universal currency that fuels us to seek and to chase.
Okay, so this is probably the most important thing to get your head around. The difference between your dopamine baseline and dopamine peaks. Your baseline, that's your day-to-day level of motivation and satisfaction. A peak is that short-term spike you get from something exciting. But here is the catch, and it is a huge one. After every single peak, your baseline doesn't just go back to normal. It temporarily drops below where it started, leaving you feeling even less motivated than before.
And just look at how intense these peaks can get. According to Huberman's work, a piece of chocolate can spike your dopamine about 1.5 times over your baseline, nicotine 2.5 times, and something like amphetamine can cause a jaw-dropping 10-fold increase. Now just imagine the smaller, but way more frequent spikes you're getting every single time you check your phone. Our brains were just not built for this kind of constant assault.
And this leads us to the real danger. When we're constantly chasing these little peaks from our phones, junk food, endless entertainment, our overall baseline level of dopamine gets driven down, and it stays down. And when that happens, the normal, sometimes boring, but absolutely essential work that's required for any long-term success, it starts to feel painfully dull and uninteresting.
Okay, so that sounds pretty bleak, right? But here's the good news. It is not permanent. You can absolutely fix it. So let's shift gears and get into the actual plan to take back control. We can think of it as a two-part intervention, the dopamine reset.
So, first things first, you can't fix a leak if you don't even know where it is. That's why part 1 is all about awareness. Frameworks like the 48-hour dopamine audit, which creators like AP Thinks have talked about, are designed to give you a brutally honest look at where your time and focus are actually going. For 2 days, that's it. You just track your time. The question is simple. Was I consuming or was I creating?
And this audit really boils down to 3 simple actionable steps. First, you've got to identify your triggers. What's that one app that just shatters your focus? What's your go-to move the second you feel bored? Second, the digital prune. Mute those notifications. Switch your phone to grayscale. Trust me, it makes it way less appealing. And third, restoration. This is where you start to intentionally build replacement habits that actually feel good because of the effort you put in.
Now, once you know your problem areas, you're ready for part 2, the detox. And let's be super clear about the goal here. This is not about becoming a monk or giving up everything you enjoy. The goal is simple: agency. It's about getting back the power to choose your actions consciously instead of just reacting compulsively to the next buzz or ding.
All right, so you've done the audit, you've started to reset your system. So now what?
Well, the next phase is to stop just avoiding the bad stuff and start proactively building the good stuff. So let's stock up your builder's toolkit with a few powerful, science-backed habits. First tool on the box is called habit stacking. This comes from James Clear's amazing book, Atomic Habits, and it is brilliant because it uses your existing routines as a launchpad. The formula couldn't be simpler. After I do my current habit, I will do my new habit. So you're just bolting on a new action to something you already do automatically.
Next up, also from Atomic Habits, the 2-minute rule. We all know that the hardest part of any new habit is just getting started, right? This rule crushes that problem. You just scale down any new habit until it takes less than 2 minutes to do. So read every night becomes read 1 page. Go for a run becomes put on my running shoes. The goal is just to master the art of showing up.
And our third tool is called temptation bundling. This one's actually kind of fun. It's how you make those hard habits way more attractive. You bundle something you want to do with something you need to do. So you only get to listen to your favorite podcast while you're at the gym, or you only get to watch that new Netflix show while you're on the treadmill. See how it works?
So, when you pull all of this together, what are we really talking about? These tools, these resets, they're not just about managing your screen time. They're about a fundamental shift in your mindset, from being a passive passenger living in chaos to becoming the conscious architect of your own life.
Because look, the goal here is not to live some boring, flatline life with no dopamine peaks. Absolutely not. The real goal is to change where those peaks come from. Instead of getting them from cheap, passive consumption, you start to earn them from the struggle, from the effort, from the deep satisfaction of building and creating something that actually matters to you.
And that brings us full circle right back to where we started. This idea from Dan Coe just nails it. True freedom isn't the absence of rules. It's earning the right and having the clarity to design your own rules, to finally play a game that you created for yourself.
So I'm going to leave you with one final question. Don't worry about overhauling your entire life overnight. Just start with one thing. Based on everything we just talked about, what is the one single rule you will create for yourself starting today to begin designing the life you actually want to live?